In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, all praise is due to Allah the Almighty, the Lord of the worlds. May Allah's peace, mercy and blessings be upon His final and last messenger, Muhammad. And may Allah's peace, mercy and blessings be upon each and every one of you, dear viewers, watching this new episode of your program, Peace Be Upon You.
Assalamualaikum wa alaikum salam.
In today's episode, my dear viewers, we will be looking into the answer to a very important question, and that's what are the pillars of fasting? Of course, when it comes to the Islamic jurisprudence, we know that for every act of worship, there are pillars that constitute part and parcel of this act of worship. And when it comes to fasting in particular, we have two pillars. The first of them is an-niyyah. That's the intention or the motive. And when it comes to the intention here, to better understand the position of the niyyah, we draw a distinction between a fasting that's obligatory or prescribed, as the case with the fasting of the month of Ramadan, and on the other hand, a fasting that's voluntary. So a person decided to voluntarily fast for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when it comes to the first one, and that's an obligatory fasting. According to the majority of the Muslim scholars, the intention has to be made, or the intention has to be developed during the night and before Fajr, or before the dawn. However, according to the Hanafi scholars, it is valid to develop the intention when it comes to a fasting that's obligatory, as long as it is before the noon prayer. So according to or al-dhuhr prayer. So according to the Hanafi scholars, it is also permissible as long as the person did not carry out anything that would invalidate the fasting. In this case, it is permissible, and the individual have all the time until Dhuhr prayer to develop the intention to fast an obligatory fasting.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون.
In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Compassionate. O you who believe, fasting is ordained for you as it was ordained for those before you, that you may be pious.
Here it is to be mentioned that the mere act of having suhoor, which is the pre-dawn meal, is an indication of having the intention to fast. And it is important to develop the niyyah of fasting, or the intention to fast, for each day separately during the month of Ramadan. So each and every day would have its own intention. Also, it is to be mentioned here that Imam Malik said that it is permissible to develop or to have or to make up one intention at the beginning of the month of Ramadan for the entire month, and this would be sufficient to have the pillar of the niyyah fulfilled for all of the days of the month of Ramadan. this was the case when it comes to a fasting that's obligatory, as is the case when it comes to observing the fasting of the month of Ramadan. And when it comes to observing a voluntary fasting, in this case, the scholars said it is permissible to delay developing the intention or the niyyah for the time even that which is after the Fajr prayer, as long as the person or the individual did not do or make any act or anything that would invalidate the fasting or that would render the fasting null and void. So that was the first of the pillars, my dear viewers, and that's an-niyyah, or the intention or the motive. The second of these two pillars is al-imsaku an al-muftarat. That's the abstention from al-muftarat, and al-muftarat here indicates or means the things that invalidate or break the fasting. And this happens to be the case either if it's about an obligatory fasting like the month of Ramadan, or a voluntary one like fasting on Mondays and Thursdays, and fasting on the 13th and the 14th and the 15th of the lunar month.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون.
In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Compassionate. O you who believe, fasting is ordained for you as it was ordained for those before you, that you may be pious.
With this, we learn and we understand that fasting has two pillars. The first of them is the intention, and the second of them is abstaining from all the things that would render the fasting null and void. So as we are moving and coming to the end of this episode, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase our knowledge and to make us of those who learn that which is of benefit and who act accordingly. That's it for this episode. I leave you in the care of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wishing you all the best. And of course, reminding you of the fact that you can watch this episode and the previous ones, and for sure, all of your questions, your feedback, your comments, and your suggestions are most welcome on the official Facebook page and the rest of the social media. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.